Welcome back on the show. It is time for our Faces, Voices, and Riders segment with so many great media personalities throughout the entire state. Kind of our opportunity to get to know one of those media personalities, and it'll be Brock Kappelmann. He is the voice of the liberal high school Redskins. You're the voice of the Seward County Saints. You're the voice of the liberal BJs. You're the voice of liberal. Hey, Brock, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Cole, it's my pleasure. Love what you're doing, and thanks for having me on.
So like this time of the year, like is this can I say it's maybe a downtime? Like you don't actually have to do like two different sports right now. Like can you focus just solely on baseball now?
Yeah, there is kind of that countdown that goes on in basketball season. You have the two high school teams, the girls and the boys, and the two college teams, the men and the women. And then, okay, we're down to three, we're down to two, we're down to one. And believe me, I wish I was figuring out a way to go to Lake Charles or getting ready to go to Hutchinson. But then it is what it is. Yeah, it's on to baseball now. I do have Seward baseball this week, but otherwise much more low-key than it has been down the stretch of the basketball season. Basketball season is my busiest for sure.
So you've been in liberal since the late 1990s?
Yeah, 1998. Graduated from KU in December of 97 and came straight out here in January of 98.
All right, so do you have any idea like how many games you've called? Because I always feel like you're like the busiest radio broadcaster, at least play-by-play in Kansas. Because I mean, we talk about like liberal high school football, girls and boys basketball, baseball for the Redskins, and then you got Seward County basketball, Seward County baseball, liberal BJ's. Like, I mean, your games have got to be in the thousands, right?
Yeah, it has to be. I don't know that number. But I do think that I could write a chapter of a book at every town where I broadcast. I could sit here and talk with you probably for hours about experiences in Great Bend with Barton and with Great Bend High School and even Great Bend Batcats and with Colby and Coffeyville and El Dorado and Hayes and Dodge City, Garden City, so on and so forth. So I don't know that number. We did have our station celebrated our 75th year here a few years ago, and it coincided with my 25th year. So my boss actually did come up with that, but I've lost track.
For you, like, you mentioned going to KU, like, so like, was that always the goal to be a play-by-play broadcaster?
Pretty much was. I was the kid who would be in the backyard. I'm sure my parents worried about me. I was in the backyard with a Nerf football, with a wiffle ball bat, with a basketball in the driveway. And I loved to play sports, but I was also making up tournament brackets, making up situations and announcing them to myself. I did that since I was like 7 years old. And so that was always a dream. That was always in there. When I went to KU, I do remember Tom Hedrick. He said, grab a few stories from the newspaper, read them and bring them in, record them on a recorder. And I did that. He said, it sounds like you're reading an obituary. So I was a little rough, but it came somewhat naturally, calling games because I'm a huge sports fan. I mean, that's where it comes from. It did come somewhat naturally, though, because I'd been doing it forever. And yeah, there were points I thought, well, how do you make a living being a sportscaster? I would be doing something else, but thanks to the opportunities at KU and Tom Hedrick, and then the opportunities I had here at KSCB and Liberal, it was a dream come true.
You mentioned Tom Hedrick, and people can't see. Let's see if I widen things out. This book back here, that'd be Tom Hedrick's book, The Art of Sportscasting. So I mean, you talk about the guy that, he truly wrote the book of, play-by-play broadcasting and what it's like for you to be, as him as a mentor. Like, what was that like? And just, some of the experiences that you had with Tom.
Oh, it was wonderful. And I'm 51 years old, and things that I learned from him are still resonate with me every time I broadcast a ball game. And from the most basic of give the score to don't be sing-songy to you vary your phrases, swish, it's good, count it, don't say the same thing over and over. Yes, everything. it still goes back to him. Those things I learned when I was 20 to 23. I still remember now at the age of 51 years old. So
What was the talent like at KU when you were going there? You talk about, one of the, bigger journalism programs, not only in the state, but even the country now. Like, what was it like when you were there?
yes, it was loaded with talent. I mean, we had guys who were very good play-by-play announcers. We had very good talk show announcers. We had guys who were very good on camera. We were some 20 deep, and a lot of them are the names you know now. I'm not going to start rattling off names because I don't want to leave anyone out, but
sure.
It was the cupboard was very, very full in talent at KU in those times in the mid and late 90s.
Were you telling me one time that you go in this, like Tom would send you out in the stands like of a game and start recording it from there?
Yeah, that's where it started. So that was our assignment, go broadcast a basketball game. I think I took his class second semester, and so it was a cassette recorder and go broadcast a basketball game. So I'd send it Lawrence High School and broadcast Lawrence Lions games, but more often both of my brothers were playing for the Augusta Orioles back home. Our mother had just passed away, so I went home as often as I could, and wanted to watch their games. I have a brother who was 6'9", and he was a walk-on at KU for Roy Williams, and another Todd, and another brother, Brett, who played baseball at KU, and he's 6'5", left-handed, and they were a pretty imposing front line in the Chisholm Trail League. So I'd grab that microphone and drive home on Friday afternoon and go to Bueller or Valley Center or Augusta or Andover or wherever their game was and sit there and broadcast my brother's games. And then they'd take it back with their friends and listen to it. So, yeah, you do it around Lawrence, but I did it in Augusta when I could.
You still have any of those recordings?
That gives me anxiety to think of whether I do or not. I know I do somewhere.
So like after finishing up at KU, and you mentioned, going to Liberal in 1998, like how'd you become aware of that job? Like, did you see it somewhere? Did someone recommend you? Like, how'd you come about it?
Yeah, Holden Kushner was holding down the fort here in Liberal, and he also was from KU, and he has a very successful broadcast career. But Tom Hedrick said, hey, there's an opening there, going to be an opening there. I think Holden had the thought, I'm staying in Liberal for 1 year, and that's going to be, and then I'm moving on. And so I was aware there could be an opening. I remember I interviewed here in Liberal and in Hiawatha, and those were two openings at the time. And Stu Melchert, the general manager here, and he and his wife, Janice, I felt at home. There was a warmth about the people in Liberal, and he took me around town. I remember we ate at the Petroleum Club here in Liberal, and then we're constructing a new station, which is where we are now, which was an old doctor's office. We used to have a radio station right by National Beef. So so moving out here was part of it too, but no, Stu Melchert, and I met him at KAB meetings and everything when he'd come to Lawrence while I was a student. And that's what made that happen. Even though it was far away from home, it felt like home right away.
Brock Kappelmann joining us here with a radio station Liberal. Like for you, like the most challenging part of play-by-play broadcasting is what, Brock?
Oh, that's a really good question. Sometimes it's a battle within yourself. Like it might be keeping focus as an athlete. You do sometimes during commercial breaks, during stoppages, you let your mind wander, especially if it's not a particularly competitive game, and you start saying, man, I'm hungry, or man, what are we doing this weekend? What's going on after this game? So staying focused and trying to sound interesting, trying to keep the listeners hooked on, even when it may not be an overly entertaining game. I would say that's a challenge. Certainly in Liberal here, the travel is a challenge. Sure. It's a big part of the job. I consider it part of work, is getting done with my show that goes from 9 in the morning, the Sports Guys, and getting straight in the car and leaving at 9 and going to Coffeyville like I did last week, or going to Great Bend and back like I did last week. So I can't leave out the travel part. That certainly is a challenge.
One thing, like listening to your broadcast, you do so good, like so smooth, but also like your fluctuation of your intensity goes up and down, with the game. You don't get over the top early on, you kind of save it for the big moments. Like, how important is that for you in your play-by-play, and just, I know there's a lot of, really loud broadcasters and, just kind of a time and place for all that, I guess.
To me, it comes somewhat naturally. I don't plan it. It's a feel thing, and you're the same way, Cole. When you broadcast, you get the feel. Okay, this is a big play. You get the feel that okay. I don't say okay. Now it's time to let it rip. You just feel it. You feel it in the arena. You feel that was a big play. When a guy or girl's having a big game. You know that it was a pivotal play in the game. And yes, I've certainly have had moments where I've fallen into the habit of getting overworked, when it's not really a big play. And then what you're going to do is you're going to exhaust yourself by the end of it. These junior college broadcasts, as you know, if it's a 6:00 game, women's game, I'm on air at 5:45, and the games go long enough. A lot of times I'm not off air until 10:45. It's a 5-hour broadcast. So There is some pacing that goes on there. But no, to me, it's a know the game, know the situation. It's a feel of your team. How good is the opponent? It's a feel thing to me.
Last one before I let you go. And, there's a number of broadcasters throughout the state have had the privilege, of calling maybe a son or a daughter, when they get to high school or even in college. What's that experience been like for you? Not only being able to call, one of your son's games in high school, but also at the collegiate level too.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. I remember, and I have a son now who's a sophomore, so I'm going to start broadcasting more of his games now. And my oldest son, he's president at Kansas State University, Brady. He didn't play. He wasn't into sports as much. He was very active at the school, so I didn't get to broadcast much of him. I did get to interview him. Then my middle son, Brooks, I was able to broadcast him a lot. And I remember I was doing the basketball game his junior year up in Garden City, and he was having a good game. And one of the high school girls on the girls team, I was interviewing them at half. They asked what it's like. And the way I described it is I said, you pour gasoline on it either way. It's that much better or it's that much worse, depending on how that game is going. Now, you can't let that come across on air, obviously, because you're there for the listener and you're there for that program and you're there for your employer. But it's that much better or it's that much worse depending on how that game is going. You just pour gasoline on it.
Yeah, exciting times. Hey, Brock, appreciate the time and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Cole. Same to you. Appreciate the time and love to do it again sometime.
That is Brock Kappelmann with Liberal Radio. We'll have more of the show right after this.